welcome back to Dreams of Music and Makeup, or welcome here. If this is your first video with me, thanks for being here. Glad to have you. If you are new around here, consider subscribing. I do put out 2 beauty videos a week, every week, and this is kind of an exception. Today we're gonna do a little bit of a sidebar from that. I recently did a video in which I told you guys that my dog devoured my beauty sponge, and you guys said that you would be interested in hearing more dog stories, where they came from, that kind of thing, so I thought I would film a kind of story time video for you guys today, focusing on my dogs, which I have kind of nicknamed the Dragon Pups. I don't know if we've talked about this or not, but I do kind of love Game of Thrones, and as you may have guessed, my favorite character is Daenerys Targaryen. I kind of identify with her. These are my Dragon Pups. They're a little bit crazy, they are very territorial and protective, so it just kind of makes sense in my mind. Little backstory, I had a Chihuahua previously, back when I lived at home. However, she was the sweetest dog, she loved everybody, so I was a little thrown off when I got Chihuahuas that were more traditional and a little bit more barky and weird around new people. We've since trained them to do really well in adapting to new people in our home, so they've come a long way. They did just turn 6. Essentially, I wanted a dog. Mitchell and I had been married for almost a year, and we didn't have any pets. That is the longest I have been in my life without a dog. I have always had dogs. I've generally had more than one. I was very, very lonely. If you've had pets, you know how this is. It just feels really empty and weird without them. I had convinced Mitchell that we were going to get a dog, and because I had had such luck with my last Chihuahua, I wanted another one. I knew I wanted a small dog. At the time, we were in a very small apartment. I spent months on the internet looking for these guys. I was looking to adopt, and it was kind of hard to find a young Chihuahua to adopt in my area. And then I found someone who actually, it was kind of her thing. She would take in Chihuahuas from the Humane Society, help them to have a little bit longer stay so that they could find more permanent homes. She would have anywhere from like 20 to 25 Chihuahuas in her house at a time. In the city that we lived in, that's what she did. She took in the Chihuahuas. About 10 or 12 of them lived with her permanently. They were her dogs, but the other ones were kind of on rotation until they found new homes. She actually had posted the listing with these guys on the internet, and I saw them and immediately fell in love with Darcy's little face. Their mom was a rescue and was put in the Humane Society where we lived, and unfortunately, she had been put in with the boy dogs. They broke their own rules. With Chihuahuas, if they're pregnant, they generally do a x-ray to see how many puppies there are. If there's more than one puppy, the Chihuahua is very, very likely to die in birth, so they will do a C-section. Upon doing said x-ray, they actually found that she had 2 pregnancies going on. Cats and dogs both have this capability. It's kind of a weird thing in nature, but they can have simultaneous pregnancies going on within the womb at the same time. When they did their x-ray, there was like 1 giant puppy on one half of her uterus and 4 tiny puppies on the other half. Darcy and Bentley, formerly known as Phoebe and Ozzy, were the 2 runts of the larger litter. I fell in love with Darcy from the moment I saw her. I had wanted a female dog. I didn't know at the time that I was going to get more than one. Picked her up, and I believe she fell asleep on my shoulder and stayed there the entire time that we were there talking with this lady. There was another dog that was really sweet that was about 6 months old that she had taken in. I think his name was Harley, and he was so cute. He was one of these Chihuahuas. He almost looked like a Chihuahua Dachshund mix, but he was a Chihuahua as far as we knew. But he was so cute. He would, when you picked him up, he would almost like hug you with his little legs. It was so cute. After Mitchell and I had gone home, we kind of talked about getting Darcy and possibly getting an older dog to kind of teach her the ropes so she wouldn't be lonely. At the time I was in nursing school and working 12-hour shifts at a hospital, we didn't want to get a rescue dog and have them have separation anxiety if we weren't home. We wanted them to kind of have a group, you know, so we thought about potentially adopting Darcy and Harley. When we went to go pick up Darcy and ask this lady about the other dog, she said that she had grown so attached to him that she was going to keep him permanently, which I totally understood. As a dog person, it's really hard not to fall in love with them. I had the option of going with him on a business trip that was going to be kind of fun. I think it was in California. I opted out of that trip because I wanted to get the puppies as soon as possible, and the date that she was soonest available was going to be during that trip. I let Mitchell go on his business trip, and I stayed home so that I could get the dogs. It turns out we actually miscalculated their ages, so you're not really supposed to take puppies until they're about 8 weeks old. They had been weaned, so it was fine. We weren't wrong to take them, but they were only about 6 weeks old. So they really were babies when I got them. So I really am their mama to some extent. No one told me how crazy it was going to be getting 2 puppies. Well, actually, we didn't even get there yet. So I called Mitchell from the lady's house when I was there to pick up Darcy, and Jaclyn, why don't you just pick out a second puppy? Because we still had the concern of separation anxiety with having just one dog and leaving them alone. He told me to pick the quietest one, which is exactly what I did. And Bentley turned out to be the most vocal dog I've ever met in my entire life. He's kind of the oddball. But essentially I took home both Darcy and Bentley, and if you're unfamiliar, essentially when you adopt puppies that are rescues, you do have to prove that you have gotten them spayed and neutered at the appropriate time so that there are not more puppies turning up at the Humane Society in rescue situations. So they did have to get those surgeries done as soon as they were of correct size and of safe weight to operate on. A full 3 pounds to do that surgery, so that's exactly what we did. They both recovered really well. It was really easy for them. I will say with their first round of shots that they did with me, where they had to do multiple things at a time, she had a really terrible reaction. It made me so sad. We actually had to rush out and get some like liquid children's Benadryl for her. She was really swollen and had all these little welts on her face, and she just kept digging at the couch because her face was so itchy. So we learned that she's a very delicate flower and she needs to have her shots one at a time if she's due for more than one. Bentley was totally fine. She was also fine once we got some children's Benadryl in her. It was kind of funny, she really didn't like it even though it was flavored and stuff, so we would put a little bit of peanut butter on a knife so that she would open her mouth and then shoot it in there with a syringe. She looked at me like she was very betrayed in that moment. Something funny about them, Bentley is incredibly fearful. So he is, like I said, every bone in his body is nervous. But when I take him to the vet, they have to muzzle him because he's so scared he will like snap at them and at me. And he literally gets so scared that he has like emptied his entire colon. He not only will poop all over them, but then he will be so nervous that he's just like dripping like stomach acid, poor little guy, out of his rear because he's just so worked up and so just like thinks he's gonna die. I have no idea what's going through this little guy's head. He is the most neurotic little dog I've ever had. He's very sweet, he's very smart. Little you can do to rationalize with a dog. So poor guy. It makes me so sad whenever I have to take them in because he just gets so upset. She gets nervous and might like tinkle a little, but she's fine otherwise. If anything, she's just a little withdrawn for a while. But I remember one of my first memories of the puppies was that first night with them, and I just remember I didn't get any sleep at all. Having a puppy that's used to sleeping with its mama and its whole pack is then just sleeping with one sibling in a cage in a new place. They were just crying. I opted to bring them into bed with me, and as you can imagine, someone needed to pee or poop every 20 minutes. So I was just constantly on alert and got no sleep whatsoever. It was only after this that someone in my life told me, well, didn't you know you were doing the one thing that's harder than having twin babies? Having 2 puppies is so much harder because not only are they making messes every 20 minutes, but they're already mobile. Tell me about it. I wanted to kill myself and them for about the first year. And I would never advise to anyone to get 2 puppies at one time. If you learned anything from this video, please take that tidbit. Do not take 2 puppies at once. I recently saw online that there's a whole bunch of stuff out there about taking siblings from the same litter and that they can have all these weird social interaction problems and all this stuff. No one warned me that this was going to be such a dangerous thing that I was doing, because their heads were kind of heavy and their bodies were so tiny still. When they would go to get a drink of water, a lot of times their back feet would kind of lift off the ground. It was so cute. Especially Darcy, like she kind of mastered the whole like lifting her back end up and kind of landing it over here. Like she's kind of an acrobat, this little girl. I had a giant like metal wire cage for them, and they were both in it, and they had a little area to sleep, and they had a little area with a puppy pad so that they could go potty if they needed to and stuff like that. And they transitioned into sleeping in there. Later, when I was going to longer shifts and when neither myself nor my husband were home, we would kind of barricade them in our bathroom in our apartment. I would come home and check on them on my lunch break and let them out and everything like that. I remember one night they broke out of that barricade in our bathroom. It was the only area that had linoleum that we could really kind of keep them contained. I remember that they chewed on the cabinet corners. It was just like a single sink vanity with the little corners at the bottom of the cabinets, and I remember they chewed the corners off. They escaped, and I came out to find them pulling the edge of the carpet where the small block of linoleum right at our front door and where it met the carpet. They were just pulling all the fibers out very thoroughly so that I could see like the mesh that holds the carpet together. Oh my gosh, what are you doing? Needless to say, I don't think we ever got our security deposit back on that apartment, though that may have something to do with some purple nail polish on carpet, but that carpet was disgusting. Side note, I remember moving into that apartment and being like, oh my gosh, this carpet is so soft, and realizing they shampooed it without having vacuumed it, and the person who lived there before had cats. I'm allergic to cats. The carpet was only so soft because there was about 4 canisters from my vacuum worth of cat hair all over the floor. When they had repainted, same thing. They had painted like chunks of cat hair into the wall. Ugh. Glad to not live there anymore. That is where these kids grew up. One of my first memories of Bentley, Mitchell was holding him. It was in the kitchen of our apartment at the time. Bentley, since he was born, every bone in his body is nervous. He had this terrible habit of just jumping out of your arms when you weren't expecting it. He would just get spooked by something. God only knows what. I mean, you could have just done something like, and he didn't notice, and then it caught him off guard and he would just leap. He had no bearing on how high he was, and he was so little. Mitchell was holding him like up by his face. Mitchell is 6'3", and Bentley all of a sudden just leapt, fell on the linoleum floor, and I was standing there and I screamed. I freaked out. I remember he laid there, and he laid there like he was frozen for like a couple seconds and cried, and then like that. He was just fine. He got up, he shook it off. It just like spooked him so bad that he cried out like that because he didn't know if he could move. I think he was just in shock. He's totally fine, thank God. I mean, that truly terrified me. I think I bawled my eyes out for like half an hour after that and learned to have a death grip on him until he learned to wise up a little bit. When these dogs were little, when I first got them, they were so small that I could not find collars for them. And they were so tiny, a pound and a couple of ounces. I mean, it was like having a hamster roaming in your house free. What I did was I got little stretchy black hair ties, the little like ouchless ones that have no metal on them or anything, and I would get little cat bells, put that on the hair tie and put that around their neck. That is how tiny they were. So I just had a little cat bell on them, and they would try to chew at it. They hate having things around their neck. They do have collars on, but they do not have tags on. As you may see in a few of the pictures I'm scrolling through, they've had name tags before, but they literally chew them to the point where you are completely illegible. And there's no point in having them on anyway. The good thing about Chihuahuas is they're companion dogs, and they're not going to wander far. They don't really like other people besides us, or at least they think until they get to know them. They're not really gonna get lost, you know? They graduated from their hair tie bells as their necklaces to ferret collars once they started to get a little bit bigger, and then cat collars. We also learned pretty early on that she could jump really, really high, straight up in the air. It's really comical because she lands so hard every time. Like, she's fine, but she lands like a ton of bricks. She is just not graceful. Bentley, like I mentioned, is the most vocal dog ever. He never shuts up. Like, whether he's happy, sad, frustrated, wants something, he never is quiet. Like, he's always making noise, whether he's sighing or whining or barking or whatever. Darcy, when she was really little, I remember would go under the couch and play with me almost like she was a cat, and she would be under there for hours and I couldn't get her out because she was just so tiny and fast. But it was all just a game to her. Her notorious underbite did not develop until like the last month of puppyhood. She was completely perfect and beautiful and show-worthy until like 11 and a half months old, and then just it made me so sad. Mostly just because like everyone kind of teased about it. She's so cute and she's so sweet, but it's pretty funny looking. She's always kind of grinning. Chihuahuas are interesting in that they sleep like 23 hours a day. That is what they live to do. They live to sleep, and they live to cuddle. So they don't really want to sleep alone. They want to sleep on you in some form. I have so many memories of like cleaning my apartment, cleaning my house, and them both just following me around the house, whining because I'm not sitting down and cuddling them. I'm not doing what they want me to do. Thankfully now, as they've gotten older, they've gotten a lot more independent, and I can just tell them to go lay down and get them like set up in a blanket, and I can do stuff for a while. I swear, it's like having toddlers. They have to be with you. They have to be on you, and it's so funny. I love having her constantly on my lap. As I'm filming this, Darcy is on my lap. Most videos, she's either on my lap or right next to me asleep because she has to be with me. I'm her human. Bentley has adopted Mitchell as his human, so while he likes me, he does prefer Mitchell's. We learned that if we did not have some sort of noise going in our apartment, that we would wake up to various different sounds throughout the night, whether it be rather adult activities happening next door, or just someone singing Kelly Clarkson karaoke at 3 a.m. You name it, we kind of woke up to it. Very thin walls in that apartment complex. Downloaded a white noise app. It's called Simply Noise. We still use it to this day. We sleep to brown noise every night. They are trained to sleep to that in their kennels as well. We did crate train them and train them to allow us to clip their nails for treats and things like that. They are very trainable dogs. There's a lot of research out there on how to step-by-step do that. That's exactly what we did, just positive reinforcement and training. They listen to white noise and they sleep in there. They're in there if I'm gone for more than a couple of hours, essentially. I mean, I don't leave them in there for a long time, but if I'm gone for more than an hour or two, I will put them in there. He also has this bad habit of shredding my trash. So he will go in little trash cans and pull out all the napkins, all the tissues, all the Q-tips, everything, and just shred them, eat some of them. He's so dumb. He's getting weirder as he gets older. Hence the whole eating my beauty sponge. And he has also eaten at one point 6 King Hawaiian sweet rolls. He's a 5-pound dog, and he ate 6 King's Hawaiian rolls because he found them in our bedroom and he ripped open the bag and he ate them all. He was so fat. Oh my goodness. I wish I had taken a picture. He was so fat that his ribs were like splaying out his sides a little bit to accommodate everything he had eaten. I think he was constipated for like 48 hours, and then it all came through and he was fine. But oh my goodness, it was so sad. He was so sluggish and depressed for a while after that. That's a lot of carbs for someone who doesn't normally get many. I'm surprised he has not killed himself yet with something he has eaten, because he will even pull out like nail polish remover pads that I have used, shred those. Like, I don't understand how he's still around with these stupid habits that he has. But I do try to keep my trash cans emptied all the time, but if they're even halfway full, he will knock them over and pull everything out. He did at one point eat the hard wax I used to wax my legs. That was absolutely disgusting. He was throwing that up for 48 hours. The stuff is not toxic, but it's certainly not edible or digestible. So he threw up pieces of wax with my leg hair still in it. It was so nasty. He's so dumb. I don't know. That's about all the stories I can think of, and this is already going to be kind of a beast for me to edit. So I hope you guys enjoyed these dog stories. If you did, let me know by leaving a like down below. That helps me out a lot, and it gives other people maybe the chance to be suggested to watch my videos. So you can help out more than you know. If you have any additional questions for me or things you'd like to say, please leave it for me in the comments down below. I do read everything. I'd love to hear from you. I hope you're having a wonderful day or evening wherever you are. I hope you keep dreaming. I'll see you in my next video.